and welcome to our Broker University webinar today. Arizona Realtors is proud to bring you this month's monthly webinar designed exclusively for Arizona's brokers. Give us 1 hour on the third Thursday of each month, and you will gain valuable insights to make your brokerage and our industry more successful. I'm Callie Waterhouse with the Arizona Association of Realtors, and today we kick off Broker University webinar with understanding and working with real estate teams from the broker perspective. And today's presenter is broker Holly Eslinger, and we're thrilled that she has agreed to come back and present. Holly has been in the industry for, I'm just going to say, 30 plus years, and she is a past president of both the Scottsdale Area Association and the Arizona Association of Realtors. Holly's presentation today will be about 35-40 minutes long, followed by about 15 minutes of Q&A. And we do encourage you to ask questions today. So on the question box feature in front of you, please ask your questions, and we will address those at the end of today's webinar. As always, today's webinar will be recorded and available on our website. 24/7, you can watch all of our past webinars from the comfort of home anytime you like. And with that being said, welcome, Holly.
Hi, Callie. Hi, everyone. I am absolutely thrilled to be back with you again. I hope that you're not getting bored with hearing from me so much, but the Broker University is something that's really important to me, as many of you know, because I think it's an opportunity for us to be able to share ideas and to make all of our brokerages more successful. So today I'm going to talk to you about understanding and working with teams. But before I get started, I want to kind of give you an idea of why this is an important topic for me to discuss with you. Like Callie said, I've been in the business over 30 years, and I have managed many offices, but I never set up my own company to be able to handle a niche market. When I set up the company, I set it up with the idea that my company was going to be a team. So a lot of what I'm going to talk to you today about is how I got started, why I got started, and why it's very, very important that before you just begin hiring people, that you actually think about and answer the questions that I'm going to ask you in just a moment, because that's going to be the most important thing. If you're going to start a team, you want to make sure that you do everything so that they are successful and so that they don't leave you. Because I will tell you, there is nothing harder than the establishment of a really well-functioning team. There is so much work that goes into it. It's important that you do your planning before you actually start hiring. So with that, Callie, you want to start with the first slide?
Ready.
Okay. So these are the questions. I'm just going to run through the questions, and then we're going to talk about them all together. So your first question is, why do you want teams in your company to begin with? They're harder to manage. They can be more costly because you have to have unlicensed assistants to handle the paperwork, and you're going to be responsible for them. We'll talk a little bit more about that. So why do you want to have teams in your company? Next question is, do you have an environment for teams? And what I mean by that is, do you have a place where they're going to come and where you can have a better overview and monitoring and mentoring of that team? Or are you letting them just do their own thing, rent their own space, and, you know, just kind of be out there doing their business? And we're going to talk about that in great length. And then, why should a team join your office? Why? And we're going to talk about that because that's very important also. Then, who should supervise the team? Are you going to leave that up to the team leader, or are you going to do that yourself? A lot of these questions are questions that I think the real estate department would be interested in knowing your answers to before you actually start your team. And then, who's going to train your team? And the leader and the team leader, is it going to be you? And then, do you have a policy manual for your team? Interestingly enough, the brokers that I've talked to that have teams never even thought of this, that they have the policies and procedures for their company. But if you look at your policy manual, your policy manual should talk about, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but it should talk about what your policies are, who's accountable, and then how do you monitor them, and what happens if there's a violation of your policies. Well, it may be a little bit different for your team. So let's talk about these questions for a second. The most important thing for you is the fourth question, and that's to making a decision on who is going to supervise your team. If you decide that you just want to you've got an agent that came into your office and they said, I'd like to be able to establish a team, and you said go for it, and didn't have anything more to do with the development of that team probably will not make it. Statistics show, and this comes from the National Association, the Certified Residential Broker Council, that's the CRB Council, 80% of all teams fail within the first year. And many teams never get larger than just a partnership. So many teams are like husband and wife teams, family teams, those kind of teams. So you need to first decide if you are not going to supervise the team, and if you are not going to oversee that team and train that team, then what you're doing is you're giving an open invitation for litigation later on. And I'd like to be able to give you some actual examples of what the Department of Real Estate is looking at right now in response to this. And this is the most important. But let me give you a scenario if I can. Your team, you have one team in your company. Your team is set up, and the team leader is a fairly experienced agent who has told you that they're going to train all of their people. They've hired 2 listing agents and 2 buyer's agents and an unlicensed assistant. That's the team. Your buyer's broker is given a lead. Your buyer's broker takes the lead out and sells them a property. The contract is written on page 9 that you are the selling agent. You're the team leader is the selling agent. When there is a complaint with the Department of Real Estate, the Department of Real Estate asks for a copy of the contract. And what the contract says is that the team leader is the contact person. The buyer says, I don't even know who this is. My agent was the one that sold the house. So the person that actually showed the buyer and sold the buyer the house was different than the person on page 9 who is the team leader. This happens more times than you can imagine with teams, because the team leader, what they have made the decision is that they are going to get all of the credit for every sale on their team. This is very typical with all teams. I will tell you right now, I just had, Judy Lowe drove with me up to Prescott on Friday, and we spent the whole drive up talking about teams. And once the Department of Real Estate gets through going through all the property managers, she's going to start looking at teams, because she realizes the problems that are inherent with teams, because there is a team leader, and because that team leader wants the credit for all of the production done by that team. Well, that's a violation of the Department of Real Estate. So what they are looking at doing is they're looking at slapping some hands and making some examples. So I would encourage you to sit down. If you do have teams and a team leader, I would make sure that when you're reviewing their contracts, that the person on page 9 is the person that the buyer is actually working with. And I know that that is not what the team leader wants, but it's something that you have to address before you actually get into the supervisory part of supervising teams. And this is a tough one, because what you don't want to do if you have a very productive team in your company, you want to make sure that they're happy, because obviously you don't want them to leave and go on to somebody else. So what you do is you kind of hide your eyes to any mistakes that the team leader or the team does. But that's going to get you into trouble, because you cannot relinquish the supervisory responsibilities of your teams. Now, I'm going to encourage you, because there's a lot of meat here. So if there is a question, and I am more than happy to answer questions as we go through this presentation, because I do think that it's going to be very important. So if you do want to ask a question, Callie may interrupt us, and she may just go ahead and ask a question as they come up. Now let's take the last question. Do you have policies for your team? If your team is like mine, and it is the company, then your policies are really written for that type of a company. If you have a regular, traditional, or 100% shop, and you have office space, you have all of that, you have your own policies, you're probably going to want to establish your policies for your teams. And I would personally do that before you start hiring a team leader and team members. The reason why is because what you want to do when you hire your team leader is you want to say, these are the policies of the company that I have set up to be able to assist you being a successful team. Would you please review them? If you agree with them, I would love to have you come in and interview with me. If you don't agree with them, then I certainly am happy to talk to you about it, but it's probably not going to be a good fit for this company. You're so much better off establishing exactly where you want everybody to go before the bus leaves. Because honestly, if you try to establish policies after the teams have been set up, it's going to be very, very difficult to get that to happen. So then you're just leaving it up to your team leader to make his own policies on how he wants to, or she wants to handle any inequities in what they're doing. So if there are no questions with regards to this beginning part, then let's move on and let's talk about why the agents join a team. And the first reason, believe it or not, agents join a team, the first is because of who the broker is, and the leader, and the manager. These are NAR statistics, and this is why agents join teams, join companies. And the second one, obviously, is name brand recognition. The next one is market share, leads and referrals. Other agents have recommended you. You want to do the next ones, Callie?
Yep.
The support staff. Now, we're going to talk about support staff in a few minutes, because I think that's very, very important, because there have been a lot of mistakes with regards to support staff. What your compensation plan is, and your facilities. How does your office look? What is the tech support? Do you have tech support? What is the learning environment? Do you have office meetings? Do you do CE for your agents? What do you do? And then what is the team leader going to contribute to what you already do? And then obviously advancements. We're going to talk about the decision-making part of the process. This is your commission structure. is really the most difficult part of establishing your team. And what I would do always is I would encourage you to talk to other brokers who have teams and find out what their commission structure is. We teach it at CRB. When we teach the CRB class, we give you examples, 50-50 splits, 60-40, and depending on what you decide with a team leader and how much the team leader takes, then you can pretty much decide what your commission structure is going to be. Let me give you an example. The team leader, because the team leader is a rainmaker, okay? They're the ones that are going to be developing the business for the team. And so what they are going to do, the team leader is going to take a 50% split, and then they are going to give all the listings to be handled and monitored by their listing agents, and they're going to give all of the buyers that come in that are not coming in because of a listing, because that would actually, that lead would go to the listing agent. The buyer's agents would get the buyers that are just general inquiries, and those would be on a 50% split also. So that is one typical way of doing the business. Now, that's my model. What I do when I get a listing, because all of our business is REO, that's real estate owned, that's the foreclosure market. And what happens is my lenders will contact me. I'm the agent that works with them. And then I assign them to my agents who work in the different parts of the valley. So I have an agent that works the East Valley and lives over there. I have an agent that works the Surprise, North Valley, Glendale, Peoria market. And they are both listing and buyer's agents. So they're just overall agents. So when I get a listing that comes in, I will assign it, depending on the area, I will assign it to one of the agents. They are responsible for all the paperwork and monitoring the property. I'm responsible for all of the negotiations with the lender and with the bank, and then also any communication that the bank has, decision making that the bank has, that's my responsibility as the team leader. Interestingly enough, the buyers that come off the website, what I do is, depending on where they want to be in town, I will assign them to the same agents that I will assign listings to. So my agents get listings and sales. I don't actually specify. And we are on a 50-50 split with each other. If there is marketing material that's done, anything, company share, anything like that, it's split. That's split 50-50 also with me. So I don't take more than my agents do. I give them the fair split. And they have been extremely happy because, I mean, this is a very extremely lucrative way of doing business. So commission structure, I would try to decide what, at least in your mind, you think is going to be the best structure for your company. And how much is the company going to get? And from who? Now, what I would do is, in my scenario, in the 50-50 scenario, if there is a transaction fee that needs to be paid, if there is accounting fees that need to be paid, whatever the fees are, I total them all up and I split them 50-50. You can do it that way, or you can have a discussion with the team leader, and the team leader, depending on how much participation they're going to be in these leads, they may just make a decision that they'll be responsible for all the fees. So it really depends on the structure of your company also. If you are 100% shop, then what I would recommend that you do is with the team leader is that you do it on a split, not on a dollar amount. Dollar amounts are hard because agents get extremely dissatisfied when the team leader makes dramatically more than they make. So I would recommend you do it on a split basis. Let's take a second, though, and talk about unlicensed assistants, because that's another hot button for the Department of Real Estate. So let's, and I'm going to be kind of jumping down here a little bit. Let's, before we get into unlicensed assistants, let me talk about the next couple. Leadership and policies. We talked about policies, that those really should be done before you hire anybody. Leadership is the question that I have for you. Because if you are going to be the rainmaker, then you are the leader. If you are not going to be the rainmaker, if you're just going to be the broker and you're going to hire a rainmaker that's going to come in and is going to, give his team a whole bunch of referrals and leads, and it's usually where that team leader has already bought business from somebody. So they take over the leadership role. Be careful. Be very, very careful. The Department of Real Estate is looking at who really supervises these teams. If you relinquish your responsibility, you are in violation of the department. So you mustn't do that. You must stay in touch. You must have that working relationship with your team leader, excuse me, with your team leader, so that you actually know what's going on. And if there are any questions, you and the team leader sit down and you discuss them. Make sure you're both on the same page. The next decision making, this goes with leadership, but it's the hiring and the firing. Who's going to hire, and then who's going to fire? This should be in your policy manual for your teams. And what in my recommendation is that if you have a team leader other than yourself, then what you do is you actually do it together. You make the decision on the hiring and firing, because I think that this is going to be an area where you could really get into some serious issues if somebody else is hiring for you and they're not looking out for your best interest as the broker. They're just hiring because they fog a mirror. And you know as well as I, that's the old adage in our industry, that hiring is done if they're alive. And if they can fog a mirror, you ought to hire them, because they might do one transaction a year. That's not the way it is anymore. And really, the team leader, if they make the decision to hire somebody, you should have the final say, and there should be an interview process that's part of your policies, part of your team policies. So I encourage you to really look at who is going to do that. Please, please, please do not relinquish all of your broker responsibilities to the team leader. That is so dangerous. The next is handling real estate issues. This is, it's really interesting, because lots of brokers have said, oh gosh, I've got a great team leader. They can hire, they can fire. I'm fine with that. And no, they don't need policies because they have my policy manual. But I'm going to let the team leader do it all. And then you get a complaint, or you get an arbitration or an ethics complaint with the Department of Real Estate or AAR, and you have to address the handling of the real estate issues. Guess what happens? The team leader comes running to you and say, oh my gosh, you've got to handle this, because this is your part of the process. No, the whole process is your part of the process, not just when there are problems. So you need to talk about that. You need to talk about who's going to handle the real estate issues. In many cases, the team leaders really don't have the same experience that you do. And I certainly wouldn't turn over the handling of real estate issues unless you want to lose your license to a team leader. The next decision making, and this is the one that we really want to talk about, the next two actually. Let's just bring up the independent contractor too. Thanks, Callie. Mm-hmm. This is a biggie for the Department of Real Estate, so let's spend a little more time talking about it. There is a huge difference between an unlicensed assistant and an independent contractor. If they are an independent contractor, they must be licensed. The Department of Real Estate says that a transaction coordinator, somebody showing property, somebody acting like they have a real estate license is an independent contractor. An unlicensed assistant, and I'm going to repeat this a couple of times because I really want to make this very, very clear to you. An unlicensed assistant cannot be paid on commission. Cannot be paid on commission. An unlicensed assistant cannot be given a flat fee per sale. Cannot be given a flat fee per sale. An unlicensed assistant cannot do any functions that require a license. I really recommend that you go to the substantive policy statement of the department on unlicensed assistants and make sure that you understand that. The department is looking for the broker to pay any unlicensed assistants, no matter who they work for in the company, because the broker is responsible for everyone working in the company. So that was one thing that Judy said yesterday. She said, please do not forget, or not yesterday, but Friday, please do not forget unlicensed assistants and talk to everybody about the fact that they must be paid by the broker. They can't be paid by the team leader. So, and that's been kind of a misconception because most team leaders pay their own unlicensed assistants. Remember that anybody that's licensed has got to be licensed under the broker. So in the case of a transaction coordinator can't be unlicensed because they are doing the job of a licensed agent. So a transaction coordinator must be licensed according to the Department of Real Estate, and they must, once again, they must be paid by the broker, unlicensed assistant.
Okay, Holly, just a quick question here.
Yeah.
So if an agent uses an independent transaction coordinator that is not part of the same company, is that allowed?
Yes. That is allowed. They do have to be licensed in the state of Arizona. They don't have to be here, but they do have to be licensed. I want to read you something. Hang on for 1 minute. Judy Lowe says, let me just, here we go. ADRE has received multiple inquiries and questions in regards to using non-local transaction coordinators. Transaction coordinators can only work for one brokerage as they need to be a licensee. Now, this is Judy Lowe speaking. And a licensee can only hang their license with one broker. So can a coordinator live out of state? Yes, but they must be licensed in Arizona. It is possible to share a transaction coordinator, but all licensees must be a member of the same brokerage firm. So if you have a transaction coordinator, her time or his time can be shared by the other agents in the company and can be paid a fee for the work that they do depending on what work they're doing. That is perfectly fine, but only by the licensees in your company. Does that answer your question? Any other question with regard to that?
Nope, that's the only one. Can you just clarify, though, that the transaction coordinator must be licensed and a part of the same brokerage?
According to Judy Lowe, transaction coordinators can only work with one brokerage as they need to be licensed. The key here is the word license, okay? That they have to be licensed. A transaction coordinator must be licensed. So if they're licensed, they have to hang their license with somebody. Mm-hmm. They can't hang their license with 3 or 4 different brokers, only one. So Judy Lowe says transaction coordinators can only work for one brokerage as they need to be a licensee, and the licensee can only hang their license with one broker. Can they live out of state? Yes, but they must be licensed in Arizona, and that license must hang with one broker. Okay?
Thank you very much.
And by the way, let me refer you, if you're wondering where this came from, if you go to AAR online and you put in the search field teams, what you're going to do is, this is going to come up, and this is an interview. Your president, Jim Sexton, did a 3-part interview with Judy Lowe. And this one is specific on teams, transaction coordinators, and assistants. And this is what she says about those 3 areas. So I encourage you to go in, pull that up. It's a short little couple of paragraphs, but it's really valuable to know exactly how she feels about this. Okay. I think we've spent a fair amount of money talking about the decision making. Let's move, now that we've gotten everything done. Now we need to hire our team leader. Okay? So these are the points that I want you to remember. You need to recognize them for their leadership skills. That's really important, because if you're going to have them manage a team, they have to be people persons. They have to know how to counsel and to encourage and to mentor and to support their team. So you need to recognize, and you need to find out when you do your interviews, don't so much talk about yourself, but ask these questions. Tell me what your leadership skills are. Are you a rainmaker, game changer, star maker, lead generator? Is that what you're going to be in this company? The next one is, what policies do they have? And are they compatible with your company? Have they taken the initiative to write down what their policies and procedures are going to be? If they have, oh my gosh, I think you've got a team leader that has really thought about this process and what they want to do and how they're going to do it and who's going to be accountable. So if they do, what you want to do is you want to ask for a copy, obviously, and you want to read it and see how compatible it is with what you're doing. And then the last question that I would ask them is, how big do you want your team? Remember, and we're going to talk about some pitfalls here at the very end, because the one thing, as you can see, you're going to do a fair amount of work to be able to get to the place where you've got a successful team. If you are working with the team leader and you are helping that team leader develop their leadership skills and to develop their team and to do it properly, they're going to stay with you, because that's an expertise that not too many brokers have. So you're not going to lose them. You're not going to spend all this time with them and then lose them, because you're going to be a part of why they're with your company. Remember the slide that says why agents join a team or join your company? It's because of you. and the leader and the manager. That's the number one reason why you're going to be able to keep all of your agents and your team leader. So these are the questions that I would ask of anyone coming in to be a team leader for you. And then, but there are some things that I want you to consider. I want you to consider how large the team is going to be. Can you house them? If the team leader, if I came into you and said that I want myself, I want a transaction coordinator, I want my assistant, I want 3 buyer brokers, and I want 3 listing agents. Is that too big for the space that you've got available for them? Maybe not. Maybe it is. So how large the team is something that you really must consider. And then the big question is, will they fail? If they fail, everything that we've just talked about goes out the window. So what you want to do is you want to encourage them to take it slowly. And let's talk for a second about this question. So why do teams fail? They fail because they're built too fast, and they hire the wrong people. They don't have a business plan. The team leader can't manage the people that they've got. They have a lack of structure. This is a killer, because everybody's falling over everybody else because nobody knows exactly what their responsibilities are. When that happens, when there is lack of structure, then it all falls apart. Where there's no accountability, so neither from you nor the team leader. No financial planning. Who's going to pay for the leads? Is that going to be shared? Who's going to pay for them? That's the financial planning is very important, whether you start a company or whether you start a team. It's pretty much the same thing. No systemizations. Oh my gosh, if you're doing everything by hand, it's never going to work. And then no clear roles. These are the reasons. These are the reasons that any team, no matter what the industry, every team, if this is the problem, they're going to fail. I will guarantee you that they won't be together in a year from now. So what we want to do is, if we know that these are the things that will create the space for teams to fail, then what do we do to make them succeed? Okay, this is it. Start slowly. Plan for what you want. Number 3 is key. Find the right team leader, or you be the team leader. Write your policies. Decide on your commission splits. And remember, you need to talk about who's going to pay your unlicensed assistants. Remember who pays? You pay. You, the broker. Pay any unlicensed people in your company. Think before you act. Now, I added that because the one thing that I have found is if you just say, I'm going to hire this team from another company because they're not satisfied with their broker. You want to know why they're not satisfied, what makes them unsatisfied. And you need to interview the whole team. If you have an opportunity to get a team away from another broker, there's a reason why. You may not want them. So don't just don't have dollar signs in your eyes when it comes to teams. Because consider this. If you have 10 people on that team and they're taking up the space in your office, but you are only getting the production from one. If you're only getting the production from one and you're really not getting major production, then that was not worth the time that it took you to set it up. So please think before you act. And if you follow all of these, then success is yours. Success is going to be yours for this team. Teams do succeed teams do last. We've got some fabulous, fabulous teams in, in the state of Arizona. I mean, I can give you the name right now of probably 10 of the most successful teams are up north, a couple down in Tucson, the rest in the metropolitan Phoenix area. But if you talk to each one of the brokers of those companies, they are an integral part of how their teams succeed. Now, I would love to take questions if you have any, because we've got another few minutes. So, Callie, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and put your contact information on the screen.
Okay, good.
And folks, if you have questions, maybe you're not comfortable in this open forum asking your questions, please reach out to Holly. One of the great benefits of being a broker in Arizona is the fact that we have some incredible resources. Holly has been in the business, for 30 plus years. We have the legal hotline available. So, even though we're all independent and owning our own brokerages, this is a great opportunity to ask questions and to, take somebody to lunch and say, what's been your experience? Or, I think that's a conversation that everybody should be having.
Absolutely. And the one thing that I will mention to you is that I don't know any broker that I have talked to that said that they wouldn't help another broker. Yes, we're all in competition with each other, but I have always found that we are a brain trust. And we all can benefit by that brain trust. I will tell you that NAR is part of that brain trust, and they have field guides to partnerships and teams that you can take advantage of. If you go into realtor.org and put in the search field teams, you're going to get 10 fabulous articles. You're going to get information on the CRB 2-day program, and as well as other experts in the area of teams. There's also NAR has a new certification that just went up on your screen, and I'm really happy to see that it's there. It's the CRETS, which is Certified Real Estate Team Specialist, and that is an NAR certification. It's for team leaders, team members, those looking to start a team, brokers, managers with teams, and those who simply want to sharpen their leadership skills. It's and it's brand new. Unfortunately, we didn't have anyone signing up for the one that we just gave on September the 17th. We will do it again for you. I really encourage you, once if you are going to have teams in your company, this would be a very good certification to take advantage of. The first one, the Understanding and Leveraging Teams, that's the CRB 2-day course. HR Solutions for Teams, I'm not sure who's giving, that is being given by AAR, but I'm not sure if there is another one. Do you know if we've scheduled another one, Callie?
We don't have one yet.
Okay, all right, but we will be scheduling one. And then Position Your Team for Profit and Team Collaboration and Tech Tools. These are all some of the courses that are given by this new certification. So as you can see, this is a CRB certification. That is a certified residential broker, and AAR will be putting on those classes. So I really encourage you. You can go to AAR online. You can read the commissioner's 3-part series that she has done with Jim Sexton, as well as you have every opportunity, if you would like, and you need my help, to give me a call, and I'm more than happy to give you some guidance.
Well, thank you. And Holly, kind of what I hear that we've talked about in the past, the success of a team is really in being proactive. Like you said, knowing ahead of time your expectations, having your policies, in place, before that first team leader is hired, before the first team is brought on.
Exactly. It's all in the planning. A successful team will be successful if you plan correctly, if you hire the right people for the jobs. I mean, why hire a listing agent, somebody that absolutely does not like to work with buyers? Why would you hire them as a buyer broker? So, you know, you find out what people like to do and you put them in the right spots. That's a really good team leader broker position to take, but it's all part of the planning. You just can't decide tomorrow when you wake up that you're going to start two teams. There's a lot of planning. That's why it's so important that they're successful. You don't want to go to all that hard work and then have it all fall apart.
And looking at that statistic, 80% fail the first year.
Yep.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. And the reason why they usually fail are just the things that we've gone over here. So if you take a look at the reasons why they fail and don't do it,
yeah.
I mean, that's the whole key. I mean, if you know this is why they fail, then do just the opposite, and you'll have a successful team.
Take those extra steps ahead of time.
Exactly. Yep.
Kind of like Legos. You just keep building and building and building.
Exactly. Absolutely. And you don't do it overnight. It's not something that you're going to do overnight. You have to hire the right people.
Well, Holly, thank you so very much. Folks, on your screen, I just want to give you kind of an advance notice that we are hosting the Forward Forecast coming up in November. If you joined us at the spring convention, you're familiar with Nobu Hata from NAR and with Jonathan Smoke from Move.com. Well, we're going to add 2 additional economists with Jonathan and Nobu, Elliot Eisenberg from Graphs and Laughs and Lawrence Yoon from NAR. Both of them are going to be joining these other 2 gentlemen for this incredible economic forecast. And what's really kind of funny is you have 3 economists and then Nobu, who's going to kind of translate everything and help us to know kind of what to expect, in 2016. So it's a proactive movement, again, to kind of get us all going in the same direction and kind of what to expect to build our businesses. It's going to be live at the Black Canyon Conference Center in Phoenix, but we're also going to beam it live via remote, I call it a simulcast, to 6 of our associations around the state. This is completely free, and it's just a couple of hours in the morning, so I would encourage you to sign up. Always space is limited, but what a great event this is going to be. It's just some brilliant minds. And I like the fact that, there's a little bit of humor in here too. So it's not just all the just numbers and stuff, but this is, good quality information from the guys who lead our industry. And folks, as always, today's webinar has been recorded and will be available on our website at aaronline.com. You can see on the screen our recent webinars. We have lead conversion and lead generation up. We have an interview with Scott Drucker and Martha Apple on the review of the AAR revised TRID forms. And then our last month's Broker University webinar was on trust, accounting, and compliance with Mike Mumford. So property management always being a very hot topic right now. So folks, thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to hearing from you. I will send out a follow-up email with some of the links and the information that Holly has provided today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us here at AAR and to reach out to Holly. And thank you very much, and we hope you have a great day.